What's happening, everyone? Welcome to Airbrush Down and Dirty Tricks Thursday night before the 4th of July. Thank you all for popping in. Let's see who I have in the house tonight. We got Robert Duncan, Dan Mayer, James Mendez, Brian Moore. What's going on? Raymond Shea, Brian Brock. All right, so we got a few new things in the studio that you can't really see, but I can. So let's see how this music is still on, eh? Oh, yeah. I always forget that's a long one. I gotta shorten that clip. So that should be off now. And I'm gonna stop talking. There we go. Okay, so it should just be my new lavalier mic. Not new, I've had it for a while, but I could never get it to work right. And part of going through all this new system rebooting and everything, I figured it out. I figured out how to change it so it actually sounded good. And so yeah, so right now I have the my air conditioner running, so it shouldn't be too bad as a background noise. So I'm hoping by using this, the background doesn't come into it as much. Brian, thank you. Yep, Mike, good, thanks. Robert Meenan, cool. Let's see, can I see chat in two different places now? I'm trying to see. No, not letting me do that. Huh. Oh, maybe that's why. Okay. I was just trying to have two different chats running. So the other thing I did, which I was talking about sometime this week, is notice I'm reading while looking at you. So this is different, where I have a teleprompter now and I have the chat. The only problem is I can't scroll the chat. So if I miss it, I'm going to miss it. So I don't have any way. I need to get a second screen with that running. But we're not going to deal with that now. You know what I can do? Let me grab my phone quick, just in case I miss it. I don't want to miss anyone's comments. Hold on a second. The cool thing now, when I walk away with the lavalier mic, I'll still be able to talk, and I'm not running far away from the mic. So let's see what happens now. If I go here, go live. There we go. Now I can scroll. I can scroll through the chat if I need to here. I just don't like to miss stuff. If I can help it. If I can't help it, I can't help it. But if I can, we try. We try in here. So now when I talk to you guys, I actually feel like I'm talking to you instead of trying to watch a screen here and answer, and the camera's over here. But now the screen's in front of the camera. Teleprompters are cool. So I want to thank everyone for popping in. Let's see what we got. Yep, good. So it sounds good. Oh, good, Mike. You can't hear the AC. Good. That was kind of my problem. Was every time we get to these 90-degree days, the studio gets so hot. If I don't run the air conditioners, it just increases it here exponentially fast. Today's been 90, so even the studio now it's 77, but it's not bad with the AC running. But once I shut it off, it just climbs. So I was hoping this would be better, and I'm hoping that with the airbrush noise it's not as bad, because what I used to use was this. If I switch off, I'm going to switch this mic off, and this is what I was running before, which was just a mic that's off to my side here, like a shotgun mic that looks at me, and that's what I was using. But it picks up, I think, everything in the room. So I think this should sound a lot better. Yeah, but you're 90 and our 90, or our 100 and your 100. We were 105 the other day. Is very different. So yeah, I'm glad. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, I was hoping that this mic would work. Like I said, I've had this mic for like 2 years. And every time I tried it, I plugged it in, it just peaked and it crackled and it wasn't right. But when I put it on my phone, it worked good. When I put it on everything else, it worked good. When I put it to my broadcast system here, it worked like crap. And turns out there's a setting you have to change it. And I know this is really techy and geeky, but this all the little things I deal with in here. It's originally set as a line input. I have to change it to a microphone input, but this microphone's USB powered, so I have to change it to a different setting, which is mic with power. So once I did that, everything sounds good. So I think it should be better. And if this, if it's peaking too much, if it's too high, let me know, because I can knock it down like this a little bit and see if that kind of quiets it down, so it's not as harsh. So yeah, I'm just trying to see. Aster, I had a nice surprise. My badge or soda side feed. Oh, very cool, man. Congratulations. Probably more. The lightning and skull plus for PR. For incorporated. Oh, very cool. Plus add a little Cleveland in there. All right. So, this camera probably needs, now that I got a teleprompter here, this camera probably needs to be brightened. So I feel like I'm a little dark in the shadows. Oh, one of my other lights is off, so that would cause it. There's a million things to deal with in this place. Every time I add something new, it's, you know, just changes things. Let's see if that's better. That's a little better. More light. It was a sugar skull, a Puerto Rican thing. I don't know, actually. Maybe is it? I mean, sugar skulls are just cool no matter what, but I don't know if they're part of the culture or not. It took 10 days. Yeah, I mean, the sugar skull is definitely more Mexican, but I didn't know if it kind of carried over at all either. All right, so let's do something a little different tonight. So this is what we're doing. Haven't done one of these. This is a Q&A, but I'm also going to paint. So I am going to be working on a piece here, which is this guy. And I got a panel here in case we got any questions we want to go through. I reached out to members only, so for all my Down and Dirty Tricksters, all my members, all you lovely Down and Dirty Tricksters here, I put a post out yesterday. Was it yesterday or the day before? I think it was yesterday. You guys get to drive the first part of the show and ask the questions. And with a few responses, I was expecting more, to be honest. Maybe I should do a little sooner next time, give people time to come up with questions. But I got a few questions here. So what I figure I'll do is I'll paint and go through them. And then once I'm done with these questions, I'll open it up to you guys and see what you guys think. And then we'll go from there if you got any suggestions, things like that. But look, I'm probably going to miss them now, so don't ask me anything until I kind of open it back up to the floor. I'll go through everything's question. I'll go through everyone's questions. The ones that were asked first, I already got them written down in front of me. So go through those, and then I'll go through anything new. So let me take that off the board. And before I get into that, let's talk about this. We got this. Since I am going to paint tonight, I am going to do this American flag piece here. And this vector is basically a stretched out vector of the one that's available from MckayFineArt.com. So it's a little bit cheaper right now. Obviously, you guys all get 25% off as Down There Tricksters. And for this weekend, everyone gets 25% off because it's 4th. So, yeah, just pop on there. Brian, I'm going to get to your question. You're second on the list, and then I'll go through it. But it's a good question, so I want to really get to that. So that's what we're going to paint tonight. We're going to just do a simple American flag. We're going to break it down, just really simple. And then, like I said, if you have any questions on how things work and airbrushes, maintenance, and paint reduction, we can talk about that later. But like I said, this vector is available and everything else is available. But so this one I'm going to use for paint. I'm going to use the Wicked Red. I'm going to use transparent white. I'm going to use an opaque blue. Then I'm going to use 2 transparent colors of blue violet and a detail red violet. So that's everything I'm using tonight. So that's the colors. And we can shut that off. There we go. Okay. All right. First question of the night. I am recording because I think I can maybe put these together in a cool format. So part of the Q&A, really want to get to. Actually, a few questions have come up quite a bit over the years. You see them in chat. And it's hard to explain in text, so I figured it'd be cool to do this and kind of go from there. So first question is from Michael Stanton. And what I did is, the order the questions came in is how I put them. So Michael Stanton, how do you go about what you charge for what you're doing? Age-old question. How do you price your stuff? It's probably one of the hardest things to answer, and I'm going to do the best I can, because there is no one single answer on this when it comes to art and comes to artists. So, what to charge? It is relative. So I charge by the job, but it's basically figured I know roughly how long it's going to take and roughly how much materials cost, things like that. Let's talk about the business side, like how you approach it as a business versus a hobby. For a hobby, you make a few bucks, you get people to buy you paint, things like that here and there, 20 bucks, 50 bucks, whatever. That's one way to price as a hobbyist. Now, I'll expand on that a little bit more. As a professional, let's talk professional. When you do professional work and you're trying to do it for a living, it's not just how much you charge, it's how much things cost you. So you really have to understand your numbers, and I'm not great at it, I've gotten better over the years. How much does your paint cost? How much does your tape cost? If you're renting space, how much does your rent cost? If you're doing it out of your house or your property, how much of your house is dedicated to that? And how much is that breaking down to? How much is power, electricity, internet, blah, blah, blah. You have to know your numbers for one, okay? So that's kind of the first part. And once you know that, it's a little easier to kind of figure out. Now, like, I don't charge like I used 1 ounce of paint, 2 ounces of paint. Paints are consumables, they just kind of get rolled in unless it's like a special order job. So, like if I have to order like a quart of a specific color for a job, that's priced accordingly. But like general tape and masking and things like that, you want to know how much you use. So that's kind of a one. You kind of figure it as an hourly rate generally, and then you're going to kind of price it by the job and what you're worth. What a job is worth. I'm going to talk about that. And this is a very expanding question, and that's what kind of makes it difficult to answer. The first thing I tell people to do is, this is different in every state. It can be different in every region, definitely different in every country. So these numbers I'm going to shoot out there aren't the same everywhere. What you should do is, what are the trades in your area charge? Okay, what is a plumber, an electrician, tattoo artist, things like that? What's the average rates? Now, this is at a professional level, and you can charge roughly around these rates, and because it's what the market will bear. Okay, that's part one. If you're in a market where, like, the top tattoo artists in the area / the average journeyman electrician, they're billing $75 an hour. As an airbrush artist painter, you're probably not going to be able to charge $150, $200, because it is area dependent. If you're in an expensive area of the country, the average is $100, $150 for skilled labor services. You're probably going to be around there as well. So that's one place to kind of look pricing. But art is subjective, So if you're slow and I'm fast, and say we're equal artwork, if it took me 5 hours, say I'm $100, let's just around $100 an hour. It took me 5 hours, I charge $500. Took you 8 hours because you're slower, do you get to charge $800? If it's as good or the same, you might get away with it, but chances are in your region, you're going to be considered high. Now, that changes when it's like you're a well-known established artist. It costs a lot to get you. You have a 6 month to a year booking. You charge $150, $200 an hour because you're worth it, and that's what you feel you're worth it, and people are willing to pay it. So that's part of it. Like I said, there is a subjective part to it. Starting out, when you're beginning, I don't know. What's your hourly rate at work? Charge the same. Or charge 20 bucks an hour. What 20, whatever it is. it's something. It's something to kind of base it off of. And then you're going to earn reputation, and the market will pay. There's an old saying like, "What's it worth?" Well, it's worth whatever someone's willing to pay. Okay, so there's a lot of that. What do I want? My shit didn't sell at $5 this one. Oh yeah, I think you had mentioned, or maybe it was post. Someone mentioned trying to sell it at like a flea market or like a thing, or if you bring paintings to like a swap meet show, flea market, even a motorcycle like outdoor show, and you think you're gonna have someone paying top dollar for it? No, those events are for like bargain bin stuff. You're gonna charge a couple bucks here and there just to offload stuff. You're never gonna get money. It's gonna be. I've had some of my best work. You're like, oh, I'll give you $50 for that. It's like, dude, that's a 60-hour painting. That happens to me. That's gonna happen to everyone. Yeah, yard sales aren't for art. You want to feel bad about yourself? Try to sell art at a yard sale. Because just don't do it. Just don't do it. Worst thing you could do, in my opinion. So, I know I'm all over the place on the answer, but it is all over the place the answer. The one thing I did learn years ago, and I do, again, at a professional level, and I'm stressing that because if you're doing it here and there in your weekend warrior part-time, you're doing it as a side hustle, you can't really charge at a professional level. You don't have the overhead, you don't have things. Maybe you are when you get to a certain level, but it's difficult. As your reputation grows and you do better work, you can charge more for it. And then so much it stops being about the hourly. You base it off hourly. Like I have a few different labor rates. So I go from like 75 to 150 an hour, depending on what I'm doing. If I'm doing prep and tape out and layout and basic work and things like that, that's kind of normal average work, body shop style, basic tape outs, very simple two-tones, even like basic graphics and stuff, I bill around a $75 an hour rate. And that's kind of what a traditional body shop, good quality body shop, quality is going to be charging between 75 and 100. Shoot, you go to Sears, NTW. I mean, Sears isn't around anymore. You go to a tire store, an Ace, AutoZone mechanic shop, even Walmart mechanics. They're charging $100 an hour to $150 an hour to change tires. Again, what your market bears. Now, if you're in the Midwest, it's probably 75. I don't know. The one thing I do is I have a minimum day rate. I have a minimum job rate. It starts at 600. I don't really touch anything for less than that. Even if, and I look at it this way, this was explained to me by someone online, I saw it was really good. Even the smallest job that might take you an hour to paint it, it didn't just take you an hour. And this is where the day rate, this is where knowing your timing comes in, not just knowing your project. Everyone's like, oh, it only took me an hour to paint it. Just like I do this live feed, it only took me 2 hours to do this live feed. No, it didn't. It took me 2 hours with you to do the live feed. But I've done 4 hours on this today already. Prepping it, cutting it, doing the graphics, doing this, doing, logos for brands, things like that. I got cleanup afterwards. There's a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it. I'm in Massachusetts. So I'm in New England, which is a fairly expensive area of the country. I'm just outside of Boston. Boston being, along the top 3 expensive states to operate in and live in. So, like you get a plumber here, you're spending $200 an hour on a plumber. Yeah, electrician, basic. I had one outlet put in, outdoor outlet, a 220. They were here for about an hour. They had to run something on the inside of my garage that was already in conduit. Simple, easy. They were here literally 45 minutes. It was $1,400 by the time the 2 guys were done. And it's just what it is. But so the day rate, know how long things take you. And we as artists, like, oh, I'm fast. I do that in 20 minutes. Yeah, you do one in 20 minutes. You start doing a bunch of them, it's going to be longer. Price for like the long period, half a day, full day job. So I'll do a minimum $600 day rate job. Like, oh, I got this little brain bucket I need painted. I need this little panel painted with some artwork on it. Cool, $600. Oh man, that's a lot for one little thing. Yeah, it is. But by the time I finish with you, I sketch it, figure it out, email you, get an approval, because that usually happens. I prep the panel, clean the panel, get the bench ready, mix all the colors, sketch it on there, get the airbrushes ready. That might be an hour. Paint it for an hour, say hour and a half, an hour, 2.5 hours, plus the hour initially of talking to you and getting everything established. And then I gotta clear it and finish it in another hour. And then you gotta clean up, put it away, invoice. You're still at your over half a day's worth of time for that 1 hour job, okay? So that's why the minimum comes in. And I'll tell people, oh, one brain bucket, one little, dome helmet for $600. Bring the second one. I'll do both for $900. Why is the other one $300? Well, because I'm already talking to you. I've already mixed paint. Prepping doesn't take much longer to do one or two. When you clear coat them at the end, they get both done at once. Everything just rolls faster. So now you do more in that time frame. So that's kind of one way to look at it. But that's for jobs. Now, when I used to do t-shirts, or I do events, where I've done that stuff, you charge by the t-shirt. It's $20 for a t-shirt with a simple design and a name on it. It's $10, $15 for a name and 2 colors. It's kind of standard around the country. You got your $3 cost t-shirt. You can do one in 5 minutes. You hustle. Shoot, when we were in the heyday of doing t-shirts, and I know guys who do it now, you can hustle. You can do, I don't know, 15, 20 t-shirts in an hour at $20 a piece. Do the math. If you're really fast and good, so you can make as much as you want because you charge per item. But they're 2 different markets. So I hope that helps a little bit. Hope that answers Michael's question and everyone else's who asked that question. Know your numbers, know your time, and start figuring out your costs. Cool? Let me see what anyone said there. Thanks. Rob, what's going on, man? We charge $89 for a service fee. It costs the company almost $200 just for me to knock on the door. Right. So there's minimums you have to put in there. So it just is what it is. Now again, you do it as a side hustle, charge what you feel. But don't charge. Selling artwork at yard sales or anything else is just good luck. Okay, Brian Moore. He's got the second question here. This is another big one. And I think what I'm going to do is once I get to this one, I can start painting a little bit. So Brian's question was, I'm having an issue with creative ideas. I use AI to create what I'm thinking. Big mistake. I'm going to tell you why. Personal opinion. I guess I'm in a lazy slump. How can I break it? Okay. This is going to be a tough one. This might sound bad. AI doesn't help you create at all. It may help you with ideas that you might have, and then you might want to flush them out afterwards. But if you're using AI to generate your ideas and create what's in your head, you're going to have just a hard time because it's just going to throw random shit at you. I am not fully anti-AI. I am kind of anti-AI in a lot of respects. I am not a writer. I will use AI to help me write. Okay? But I'm not going to use it and call myself a writer. I'm not going to use it to create stories. I'm going to use it to take kind of what I wrote already or kind of put down on paper and say, hey, clean this up for me. Or what's a better way to say it? Or like this, hey, I'm doing a live feed on this. Give me some suggestions and let it suggest. That's one thing. But I'm not a writer. And I wouldn't be charging for it. As an artist, I don't really use AI much for it. I might use some generative AI and like Adobe to fill in stuff. I've tried it to see what it does, and it usually just makes a mess of stuff. It's gotten better. The only case I'd probably use AI is I've worked out an image. I've worked out an idea for myself. I've sketched it. I've done some hand drawings for myself. I might have looked at other references and did a drawing and did a few tests. That's going to help you create. You physically drawing and sketching and maybe looking at things and maybe copying elements and sketching it. And I know some people are like, oh, that's the same as AI. No, it's not. Looking at an image and getting inspired, maybe kind of gleaming some ideas and then sketching your own version, taking yourself away from it, that's creation. If at that point you're stuck, you're like, oh, let me take this image and mess with it. give me some other, take this image, give me a few ideas. Let AI maybe tweak some ideas for you and give it to you back. And then again, oh, that's a cool idea. Okay, yep. All right, take a little bit, go back to your own artwork, go back to your own head, okay? And then sketch, and then work it out. Put your spin on it, okay? If you just rely on AI, you're just gonna have a mess of ideas jumbled because A, it's not good enough to really know what you want. And I think it actually does hurt creativity just like it hurts. If you want to learn to write well, if you just use AI, you are not going to learn to write well. You're going to learn how to prompt well and maybe let AI do the work, but you're not going to be a writer. So that's kind of my thought. That's on the AI. And that can kind of keep you in the slump. Getting out of the slump is really, really hard. So I'm going to switch into here for a second. How do you get in and out of a slump? You get in and out of a slump by trying new things, by sketching new things, sometimes walking away from a project and doing something different. But at some point, you have to stop looking for, like, I'm going to go back to AI. AI can be a shortcut and a crutch if you're using it to create and kind of figure yourself out, because it's not helping your brain. Some people say using, like me using a plotter, oh, it's a crutch, it's cheating. The difference is I use a plotter as a tool because I know how to do it by hand. I use a plotter to make things faster and more efficient. Okay, I don't let the computer design it for me. I might put my ideas into it and tweak it and use it. There is a big difference. I know it's nuanced, but the nuance is actually pretty big. The only way to get good at art, the only way to get good at creativity, and I've struggled with this. I used to suck at anatomy. I still kind of suck at anatomy. And the only way to get good at anatomy is to freaking draw it over and over and over again from different angles, and you got to put the time in. How do you get good at playing the drums? You play it a lot. How do you get good at playing the guitar? You got to play a lot. And you just have to keep doing it. And sometimes you got to be repetitive. You got to take the same damn thing over and over again and get good at it. I used to hate drawing still life, and I'm going to try to paint in a second, but it's actually harder to talk about this and paint at the same time. Hey, Raph, what's going on? When I used to draw a lot of skulls, and I thought my skulls were really cool. And I look back at them now, I'm like, man, those are really bad. And even my wife was like, yeah, they're not bad, they're fun. You know, they're off. You know, I'm like, what do you mean they're off? Well, they look a little weird, they look a little wonky, you know, but I didn't see it because I just draw cool skulls, man. I had to learn how to draw a real skull. I had to learn how to shade the apple, and I've talked about this. Like, still life's boring. It teaches you a lot. And when you get good at drawing a ball or an apple on a table, you can take what you learned and you can make a skull look really cool. And then when you learn how to make a skull really cool, you can maybe make a face look better. When you do this, you can make this. And the more you do it, the more creative you get, okay? Because what happens is, the more you tune your instrument, the more you practice, the more you do, the better your brain gets at going, oh, I know how to do a skull or this with an eyeball or a horn, you know, but what if I do a horn this way and I do that? And I already know that because I've practiced it. So my head doesn't have to worry about that anymore. The fundamentals are good. Now I can take my creative brain and start doing other things to what I've already kind of mastered, or I have the foundation. So, and that's the key word, foundation. You got to build your foundation of basic skills. Shading, drawing, basics, not realism. I'm not a realist. I don't paint realism. I don't knock it. It's cool. It's awesome. Realism's awesome because you're looking at something, you're copying, you're doing it. It's cool. You have the reference there. You learn the techniques to make that happen, and that is very valuable. It's actually extremely valuable when you want to create originals that come from nothing. And that's why I'm not knocking realism, but there's realism because you have something to reference. And then there's the ability to know all those tricks on how to make them look real and not have anything to look at and make something up from your head. But the only reason you can make something up from your head is because you learn these fundamentals here. Okay, so you want to draw a really cool demon, like hunched over with cool. Well, if you don't know anatomy and how to draw like a head to a bone to a chest and kind of make it balanced, it's hard to make the alien, the really cool stuff, look cool because you don't have the fundamental things. And I promise you, the more you practice that stuff, the better you're going to get, the more creative you're going to get because your brain's going to tune. I know a couple years ago, Craig Frazier does this. He does a sketch a day. I think he's on like 4 years straight. He does a sketch every day, a drawing of something fun, something cool, every day. And I think he hasn't missed a day in like 3 or 4 years, which is obvious. I tried it. I lasted almost a year. But I noticed in that year, when I wanted to draw something, it got easier every day just to think up something fun and sketch it because you were training your brain to do it. Okay, so it's practice. Not knocking AI all the way, but stop using it to try to create. AI is not going to get it out of your head. Could someone learn to airbrush without knowing how to draw? Yes, you can. I tell people 2 things. If all you can draw is a stick figure, I can teach you how to airbrush a stick figure from your head because it's the tool. The airbrush is just a tool. It's not a form that does it for you. It's just another tool. If you don't know how to draw, the drawing is the designing stage and coming up with it. Airbrushing is the part where you make it happen. So, like if you go to a school like Drew Blair's School of Realism, and he's famous for having a lot of people that have never picked up an airbrush in their life, never drawn, and they come out with photorealistic paintings because Drew has mastered the technique of how to teach someone to look at an object, break it down, follow the steps, paint what you see, and you come up with an amazing photorealistic painting. And they didn't have to like draw it out of their head, they had it to work from, and that's huge to be able to know how to look at something and paint it and replicate it and work. The more you learn to draw, the more you can be able to do your own creativity. Okay, so there is right side, left side of the brain. The better you learn to draw, the more freedom you have with an airbrush just to freestyle and freehand and do different things. Because I can sketch with an airbrush just like sketching with a pencil. The sketching is the learning. It doesn't matter the tool that's in my head. You learn how to sketch or create. Now, if you're only going to do realism or landscapes like that, and you're going to go from a picture, go from a photo reference, go from what you see, it's a different skill set. You already have the object to work from. Okay, so you can see that tree's behind that tree. I'm going to paint that darker, this one brighter, there's a light. It's there, the data's there for you. Creating out of your head original stuff, you still need to know that stuff because you learn that and then you bring that to the table with your creation. But it is two schools of thought. I know a lot of custom painters because I do a lot of motorcycle custom paint. We're doing graphics like this where I'm just taping and spraying. Well, there's techniques, there's old school flames. If you don't know how to draw flames on paper with a pen, you can still master taping them out and taping graphics. You might not be a drawing artist, but you're an artist of graphics and layout and composition and design. There's many different ways to do it. But if you can only do tape, if you're not only, but if you're someone who does tape out flames and graphics all day and that's your thing, well, you might not be able to just take an airbrush and say, freehand me a skull, because it's just not what you've practiced and learned. It just comes down to where you want to do. So yeah, I hope that helps, Brian. I know, again, that's kind of a long way to explain it, but these questions are great, and they do bring out a lot of advice. So please don't get me wrong. I know some people in the comments about AI and stuff like that. I think AI is a useful tool, but like any tool, it can be a crutch and overused if you use it wrong or use it too much without knowing the roots, especially in the creative side. Me personally, I'm going to say something probably, it's not me. I am not a writer, so I will use AI to write my stuff to get points across to you, but I'm not going to call myself a writer, linguist, or art, or creative in that sense. If I was a really talented writer and I can't draw or illustrate, and I just punch in some ideas to AI and it comes up with images, I'm not an artist that drew those, that created that. AI just kind of spit it out from your verbal. You're not an artist. You might be a creative, writer, but you're not an artist in the traditional sense of application. So, that's just how I see it. So, I think it's a tool. I think it can be a useful tool, but like all tools, that can be overused. All right, so see what Brian said here. Can someone learn? Yeah, I answered that. Lindsay, right? I can't draw to save my life. And I can airbrush. Yes, you can definitely airbrush without knowing how to draw. There's tricks and techniques and things that the airbrush helps, like shading and light source and things like that. Amos, a big problem with painting what you think it should be. Well, that's Amos Mendes brings a good thing. This goes back to my skull thing. I thought I was awesome at doing skulls. I knew how to draw kind of funky tattoo, looking back, kind of goofy skulls. I thought they were cool, but I didn't know how to draw a real skull. Proportions and why things look like that. So, but when I knew how to draw a real skull, proportions correctly, and I got a foundation for that, then when I draw my tattoo kind of gnarly skulls, they become better, they become more real because I understand the foundations. So in my head, it's better like I'm actually seeing it because I've had the foundations. I can draw fairly well. I draw painting because I try to paint how I draw. Yeah, no, that's a very different thing, and that's a technique thing. So that's how you have to learn I've taught master painter illustrators who have never picked up an airbrush, and say tattoo artists who have picked up an airbrush, how to airbrush, and within an afternoon, once they master the tool, their art skills, their traditional training comes into play. Okay, and it happens much faster than someone who doesn't have an art background because they have to do the art background, learn how to draw, learn how to and how the airbrush. So. Even when you use your stencils, I still feel like it's not my art. Well, it is your art, it isn't, okay? Just like when I use my stencils, that's more of a production style, quick, down and dirty, it's fun, it's still art, it's still creative. It's not an original, even when I use my stencils. I've done it 30 times. It's a tool. Now, when you're doing it for yourself versus for a client, it's different. So if you use my skull stencils, or I use Craig Frazier's skull stencils, if I give it to a customer, that's just a commodity kind of item. It's a transactional painting. Okay, I did it from him. It's here. Yeah, money exchange is cool. It's not my original artwork either. It's an art thing I did. It's creative, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there are different levels. So, but you can use my stencils, or I use someone else as a tool to get the image down there. Then you put your own spin on it. Now the art starts to become more yours. You put your own look. It starts to become more yours. It might have a foundation. Like if I draw a Deadpool or Captain America, I don't own the art to Captain America. I can't license it and sell it as my own original creation. But if I put a unique enough spin on it and make a fan art piece, then it still elevates from just a copy of a painting to, oh, here's an original idea derived from this character. So there's a lot of ways to it. Lindsay, no resistance was fine. Oh, yeah, Lindsay is a great point. I've talked about this a lot. Airbrushing for almost any even trained artist who's mastered illustration, mastered art technique, and I've worked with conservatives that restore masters artwork in museums. That the airbrush is just such a foreign tool, they don't even really know how to use it well, because it's the only art form, it's the only art medium that has no tactile feedback, and I've talked about this before. Every other art form, even computer design to a point, a lesser point, but you're touching something, you're doing something, there's a feedback to it. When you drag a brush across a canvas, you can feel the canvas through the brush. When you pinstripe a car, you can feel the drag. When you watercolor, it works with the brush and it moves around. When you airbrush, there is no feedback from the surface because you're here and it's a balancing act. So it's like shooting an arrow sometimes. There's no tactile feedback, so it is hard to learn. even for seasoned artists. So don't get yourself down. Okay. So those first two questions, I hope everyone likes it. Hope people aren't thinking it's too boring. I think I might be able to use some of this footage later, maybe condense it to some short videos, things like that. So I'm not sure what everyone thinks, but let me know. And yeah. All right, let's paint a little bit before I go on to the next question. American flag. This is very simple. I've painted it before. The only reason I'm doing it is 4th of July. I do have a really cool project, actually 2 cool projects coming up in a while. We're going to be doing something like this, but on a 42-foot fountain race boat that's being prepped down North Carolina right now. Me and my buddy Eric from Crazy Customs out of Boston and Wilmington. We're going to be tag teaming, going down to North Carolina, and we're going to be painting this big, I think it's got 2 twin, like 1,500 horsepower engines on it. Yeah, we're going to do the American flag down the whole thing, and We the People, and the boat's called the Second Amendment. So it's going to be really cool. So that's coming up. So this got a little taste of how I would approach it, and these I actually probably use as a panel to test. Happy 4th. Okay, I've done this before, where this has been vector designed. You can download this on McKayFineArt.com, which is, if you're not familiar with it, there's a link to it, and you guys get 25% off. There is an American flag one there right now. I do have a bunch more coming out in the near future. So, if you download it, white panel, scuffed and prepped. Color choices, like I said right here. These are the colors. I'm going to start with the red. We have a white panel, so the white stays covered. That'll stay white to the end. So if you look at the reference here, right there, the white areas are still masked. So what the white of the drawing is still masked. So this blue here is going to stay white because the panel underneath is white. So you're pulling where it's going to be red. And I don't just go through and like base coat red and then shade it. I use a semi-transparent red, and I tone the wrinkles and ripples into the piece kind of as I go. So you can use this as a good what you're looking for. When I do my paint, and this is a sanded E-coated panel, like, so it's basically like clear. So when you scuff them, your first coat can kind of skid around if you're not careful, like that. See what I mean? So your second coat now can go a lot stronger because the first one's dry. Your first pass, especially on water-based, should be semi-wet, not super hard, not super wet. You can kind of build it in there. Second coat's where you can start hammering it. So I kind of use it to sketch at this point. And this is my problem when I started. I spray the whole thing and then work. Yeah, and I used to do the same thing because I used to think like, oh, this is automotive, I'm going to base color it. Well, I already got white, so if I spray lighter passes and then go to darker, especially with transparents and candies, I can add to that as I go. It's much, much more, it's much better. Sometimes I'll use, things like this, I would use 2 reds, but I'll show you what I'm going to do here because I have purple mixed up too. So when I go through and I look where the shadows are, because it's going to be, you know, you can see the shadows of the fold and the reference image are, you know, they're basically like a dark gray. Don't use black in flags. It just looks like hell. So I'll explain that as I get to it. So what I do is I kind of start my passes by going with the wrinkles. See that wrinkle here? That's going in. And then it comes up high and then it goes back down. Here's another one. Okay. See how that already looks like it's radiused? So watch. Now here's the next one. And I can put little kind of stretch wrinkles in it. And then go here. I'm using the white base underneath. And kind of figuring out how things are going to shade and shadow. Okay. If you're using a transparent, or if you're using a candy, it's really cool because you can keep building as you go. And I'm going to follow that through. Because if I go and just base it red. Now what I gotta do? I either have to unmask it and then like start to shading and then cut back in white everything, and you gotta start that whole, as I talked about in the skull painting last time, you gotta keep pushing and pulling, and it's annoying. Use your base color whenever you can, because A, it helps your film thickness, you're not building as much paint, so you get less edges to clear coat afterwards, which actually saves you money and time because you don't have to clear it 5-6 times before you get it flat. When you do a base coat, then you got a big paint edge on the whole thing. Like when I do this, I might have a heavier edge here, lighter here, but when I go to clear, it's going to even out a lot more. So kind of figure your wrinkles out. And then it makes the painting fun. And it's not just to go back to like Brian said about using a stencil. This man, oh, you just put a mask on and spray it red, and then you peel it. Well, if you did that, yeah, that's what you'd be doing. When you're painting like this, now you're creating. You're using your head, you're using your brain to kind of figure out. I'm already planning wrinkles. I'm not looking at a photo. This photo doesn't match this one, as you can tell. But I'm using it as a guide, and the more I do these, I can do flags now, and I understand how flags roll and move. So now I start to get, I start to understand how things work, and then I can create as I go. If you look at the reference photo, you'll notice there's dark reds and light reds. See, like, I wish I had a pointer where I could kind of point, but if you look like, basically it would be, I can't do it. I wish I could do an overlay. But you look at this like almost pinky red, bright. If you were to put a Photoshop color and pick like, look at the center of the flag. There's like a light red followed by a really dark and then a medium. If you put a Photoshop anchor right on that, like the color picker, you get like a pink. Then you go to that darker red. It's almost like a deep maroon. And then you go to what looks like the normal red, and that's a light maroon. There's no pure red. Not really, except for a couple key areas. So yeah, just kind of work with it. Like I know here, I know this. This is a big shadow belly because the flag's folded over, so I know it's really dark on this side. And I know it's radius here. So it's going to be more red towards where it meets the blue. There's a little fold there. So that's going to pick up a shadow. Brian Moore, thank you very much. I hope that helped. I hope you didn't get offended by me saying don't use AI, because it's not a don't use AI, just don't rely on it for creativity. Rely on it as a tool. Like, do your creation. Create in your head a little bit, do your sketches, do the legwork, and then when you use AI to help you kind of make it better, that's good use of the tool. So I hope you understand that, and I hope no one gets offended by me saying, because I talk down on AI a little bit, because it's just the way I'm seeing it being used, I don't like. Because it's funny, one of the only uses, when I was laying out this boat, and trying to come up with how to make this flag work on the boat, I was saying, you know what? I've done enough flags. I know how to paint flags. I can use AI a little bit. So I went in to a few different programs, and I like, show me a boat with an American flag painted on it, looking like it's moving. And the shit I got was so ridiculous. It was like a real flag floating over a boat. It was a ferry boat with flags. It was this with that. It was just so bad, and you could just waste hours with all that stupidness. It doesn't know how to do it. Okay, now maybe if you typed it, if you mastered how AI prompts work, and you said, oh, use this type of boat at this angle with this light and this keyword, maybe it comes up with it. But by the time you master that, you could have probably learned how to draw the flag yourself and sketch it, to look the way you want it to look. So, yeah. All right, is Mike Cohen in the house? Is Mike here? I was, wasn't sure if I was even going to do a feed tonight, because I'm like, it is the 4th. People aren't going to want to be around. I'm like, it's not quite the 4th. Tomorrow's the 4th, so maybe enough people be on. But I've been wanting to do this Q&A thing for a little while. Mike, there we are. Good, Mike's here. Okay, next question is from Mike, because I'm just going to keep filling this in. I kind of feel like... Oh, you're looking at my head down. Sorry about that. Let me try a different angle. Let's see how this angle looks. Doesn't look as good. Let's go back. All right, so Mike Cohen asked, I would like some advice on the business exodus, especially for those just starting out. What was best for advertising, fine art, how to market, how to price, blah, blah, blah. I think we covered how to price pretty well. How to get into galleries, art fairs, are they worth it? Sell your work with or without a frame. You know, any newbie business stuff is great. Okay, so I think in the first one I kind of covered some of it. Know your numbers, know your pricing. That's kind of the basics for the business side of it. And that's kind of the make or break. And I'm not amazing at it, or even, I wouldn't even consider myself good at it, but I'm better than some on the business side of it. What to do when starting out, okay? Military, we were the flag stars to the right, because it represents the flag waving forward. That's how you design will be on the boat. Yes, so I'll talk about that. Whenever you do American flags, it's a whole thing. The star field always has to be going in the direction. So if the boat is going this way, that's where the star field goes, because the flag's going to billow back. So if this was the boat would be here. The boat would be driving this way. Never do it the other way. Basically, you are the pole, meaning if you're on the pole and you're running forward, the flag is going to be behind you, so the star field will be close to you, and the stripes will be further away. Always keep that in mind. Never do it the other way. You will get called out, rightfully so. Was it always the case? No. It was not always the case. I want to say that rule, or kind of I want to say it was 90s or so, late 90s, is when it really became like a rule. It might have been a little earlier than that, but it was never, it's not always been a rule. Okay, so you see older paintings a lot of times, or older movies. It's not always the same, but yeah. So yes, you do that. So the flag should not be at the back of the boat, it should always be at the nose. Cars, same thing. Always be at the front. Motorcycles, always at the front, and it should go back from there. So, starting out. When you're starting out, the most important thing is you're going to be doing work for next to nothing. I don't ever want to say you should do work for free. Anyone who wants you to do work for free, especially your family or close friends, they should be willing to give you something for your time. Now, you're not going to be charging them $100 an hour rate, and just because other artists charge $100 an hour doesn't mean you can. You can once you get to that point, but not to start. You need to build a portfolio. Okay, I started as a t-shirt artist in the malls and airbrushing t-shirts. So I started t-shirts. T-shirts were back then were $1. You mess with a t-shirt, you throw it out. No one's going to give you a $300 leather jacket and say paint this leather jacket unless they know you're good at it. Once you've done enough t-shirts that look really good, you can show the guy, yeah, this is my work, it's good, right? You like it? Yeah, I can do your leather jacket. Cool, yeah, I like your work. I think you can do it. Yeah, I'll pay you to do it. But you need to build a portfolio, so you got to put the time in to build a body of work. The more you build a body of work, the more you start to network with other people. And then you got to get the referral business, which I've built my reputation off referral business. I also built my reputation or popularity of painting motorcycles when I first started out. Working with shops that like had painters that didn't finish bikes from on time, didn't get the. I became reliable. I lived up to my promises. I said I was going to get it done by this date. It's going to cost about this much. I hit those numbers. Consistency is key in anything, and doing what you said. And if you can't, like say that I want the bike done by next week. Cool, I'm going to make that happen. You know, midway through, say paint didn't show up or something happened. You can't wait till the delivery date. Say, hey man, it's not going to be done today because of this. And the guy's going to be pissed. The minute the problem happens, you call the guy and be like, hey buddy, I got an issue. Paint got delayed by 3 days. It's going to probably push your bike back 3 days. I'm sorry, it just happened, blah, blah, blah. We should have ordered this ahead of time. We didn't, and if he insists, well, I do what I can to get it done. I made you aware. I'm going to do what I can. Now, if you got extra hours in it and you have to work late nights because you can't stretch it out, maybe you can negotiate it, but you got to hit your numbers, you got to hit your promises. So that's one. Advertising. Advertising stuff. So you're not going to advertise traditional media. You're not going to do commercials. You're not going to do magazine print. You're not going to do stuff like that. You can find out so Mike, what area do you want to paint in? Is it t-shirts? Is it fine art? Is it motorcycles, or cars, custom cars? What field do you want to be in? What market do you want to hit? If you want to talk about marketing, what market are you marketing to? Because I'm a t-shirt artist and I'm known for t-shirts, I'm not going to be going to motorcycle shows. Okay, fine art. Fine art, I'm not too big in. I don't know a lot of the ins and outs. There's a lot of ways to do it. So if you're talking fine art is usually I'm going to do fine art. I'm going to get galleries. So I'm going to blah, 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 blah. It's a whole different negotiation thing. There's guys better than me at how to do that. But again, there is come down to reputation and what you paint. If you're gonna get fine art, you got to be doing all your originals. Automotive style art, ain't much of it. You can do it. I know a few guys that do it, like Goddard's done really well, things like that. So you got to look at fine art. Okay, what style of fine art am I gonna do? Am I gonna be doing museum stuff, coffee shop art? Am I gonna do pinup stuff, Comic-Con stuff, illustrations? And you got to figure out that. Once you figure out that, then you know how to market a little bit more. If you're into illustrations, pinup girls, comics, hot girls, space, maybe going to Comic-Cons and things like that, or shows, is going to get you in. If you want to be more local artists, I think talking to Steve Leahy would be a good bet. I did a session of Noah University with Noah every year. I think he starts on a new program. You learn a lot. The thing about fine art is you got to build a collection. So you got to get some work. You got to get some work out there. Then, from what I've gathered, and I've never done gallery stuff, is you got to build a collection. You got to try to get it into a gallery. But you also have to realize gallery is going to take 60-70% of your work. I don't think any gallery does less than 50 anymore. There used to be a 40-60, then it was 50-50, and now it's 60-40. But again, it depends on the artist and how you're licensing and things like that. So, back to the previous conversation, don't go to freaking local town, unless you're selling crafty art and stuff, or you're selling prints of your art. Prints are a great way to make some money because you can paint your original, you keep your original priced high for the collector, and social media is not the best gallery. It's good for people to look at, but not to buy, in my opinion. So what you can do is you can draw and paint your original collections, and that's going to be cultivated by your collectors, things like that. But you can make prints, and you can go to cons. You can go to, I don't want to say fairs in a negative way, or local art shows, and you can sell prints of your work. And maybe the guy who sees the print of your work says, oh yes, website for sure. The guy who saw the prints of your work, sees the original. Oh, I don't want the print, I want the original, becomes a collector. That's one way to do it. So you make money off print collection, multiple people who will buy a bunch of prints. So you might sell, I know artists, I remember Noah talking about this, was he'll have an original, say the originals, I'm just going to throw a number, say the original's 20 grand. Okay. So, or let's say an original from you's $1,000. Okay. You go to a show, or you go to a state fair, county fair, art show, local gallery, people looking around I don't know, $1,000. Okay, I'm not paying $1,000. I don't have $1,000, but I really like that. Well, the original is $1,000, but I have prints and G-clays and nice quality prints for. I got 8x10s or 12x18s for $20, and I got nice canvas prints for $95 or $120, signed and numbered. You might get 20 people to buy the $100 signed print before you sell your $1,000 painting, but you made $2,000 off the print. Okay, so that's definitely one way to do it. And like I said, there's better people than me on it. So you sell your work with or without. The originals, the big paintings, unless you, like, I sell these here because it's just a painting I sell. But if I also like go to a show or gallery, I'm going to put it in a frame. Okay, the original should be in a frame. The prints, you can sell prints unmatted, or you can sell prints double matted. Like if you go to my MckayFineArt.com, I have a couple prints. I have the Steve Nouveau and I have the Transcendence prints, and I offer them in 3 different varieties. So small size, low price, but they are matted. Then I have a canvas wrap print, and then I have a metallized print on most of them. So you have different levels. So you can do a tier system. Our art fair is worth it. They can be worth it, but you definitely got to have. You should have at least 3 price points of items. You should have like entry level, $10, $20 pieces, maybe $30 pieces. So a bunch of people can buy little stuff, little reprints, little postcard size stuff. And then you have your mid level, then your upper level, then you have your original. Okay, so. But as far as navigating galleries and licensing and things like that, I don't know how to best recommend it. I would recommend. I know Dennis Matheson. I think he talks about it in his book. He's done amazing at it. Noah University, his program, Noah U has a whole program on it. So, how do you select the price for your prints like die sub? 3x is a good way to do it. So if a print costs you 10 to make, let's do die sub. Die sub should be like a level 2 or up. Print on paper, like my prints, one of my original, not the ones I do now, I had a double matted print that I would sell for 40 or 50 bucks or 60 bucks. It would cost me 14. So it cost me 14. I would sell for 60 on retail, high end. That gives me room to say to a gallery, you can make 50% off it. So that $60 print, they're paying you 30 on it. You've doubled your cost, so you've made 30, they make their 50, everyone's happy. It also gives you an in-between, so you have, there's room to put it on sale, there's room to run a 30% special, there's, 3x. If it costs you 50 bucks for, say, a die sub on metal, say it costs 50 bucks, which probably what the cost of 50, 60 bucks, it's $150 retail. Maybe signed, limited edition number, 200. So I usually try to just tell people 3x is kind of a nice way to try to start, see where your market is from there. Yeah, plus it just gets your work out there and exposes people to it, especially if you go to like some of these like kind of one night shows at a coffee house that have a bunch of artists from the area. You bring in 2 paintings that make your work seen, and then you have like 10 different prints of other work for sale for 20 bucks here. You might sell 100 prints that night at 10 bucks a piece or 20 bucks a piece. You made $2,000 for the night while getting exposure to a lot of people. Okay, I hope that helps a little bit, Mike. All right. Now, if I pull this off, it's going to look super red, but notice I have that delineation going. I want to make this darker red. I can mix a maroon. I can use a maroon and just paint that. I already have purple mixed up. You're welcome, Mike. I'm going to add a little bit of purple of my red violet here to this. This is going to make a more natural maroon. Notice I'm not using what color? What color am I not using to make this red darker? So see how this red's darker? It's more purpley. If I added more to get darker. Now what I can do, watch. Now I can hit that. Yay, miss. Astro, exactly, no black. See what I just did there? Now I just brought that wrinkle out. I've already established where my wrinkles are because I've done the shading, right? So I can come across. And I can stay in the middle of that. See how that fold looks so much better already? Simple, right? Already starts to give it life. Now I'm not going 100% because I still have to shade this white later. When I use this white, I'm going to use a transparent blue or transparent purple, and I can cut across and I can darken this up one more stage. So I don't want to go 100% here. I just want to get a mid shadow. That's all I'm looking for. But no black. It's like no capes. It's like Edna mode. No capes. So now I know this is higher than this, and now you see it starts to already look rippled and wrinkled. I'm hitting all my dark areas first, so I get those established. If you're already getting to some sharper areas here, let's see if I can bring this in. I'm going to switch up here. Okay, see like right here? This is a little sharper. I can take my stencil and I can cut it. See this point to that point? I know that's going to be a little, it's like a hard fold. I can establish that now. Okay. It's another one like right here. It's a little harder. But not too hard. You don't want to go too hard. Same thing. And I can soften it up. I can harden it up later. Just get that established. I think this needs to be darker. Now this camera is on the wrong setting. Oops. I just took a picture. Oops. There we go. That's a little better. All right. 9/11. Not bad for an hour in. Go back here. This camera could probably brighten up a little bit too. No black. Okay. This is actually the last member question. Only 4 of you guys submitted questions. Like I said, we'll expect a little bit more. We'll do this again, though. I think this is helpful. It gives you some ideas of other things to talk about while I'm painting. Simon Carter. Simon, thank you for all your work with the Airbrush TV Guide and everything else, and always being a big supporter of the channel. First and foremost, thank you very much. Simon's question, he's got a 3-parter. What would be your advice on improving design and creativity? I'm okay at copying images, but find myself lacking when it comes to creating my original pieces. Simon, I think we kind of answered that in a mix of Michael and Brian's question about creativity slump. Looking at things, exposure to things, in practicing and drawing and kind of geeking out over it really starts to help. And the more you practice, the more your creativity flows and you start getting ideas easier. That's kind of the short of it. That's really, it's just exposure and like, I watch movies. I'll look at books. If you look here, let me, I'll show you something that you don't often see. You can see that camera, but I'll give you an idea of how to get creative here. Let me change my background lighting. Okay. Library of art books. I have another library of art books. Library of art books, library reference images, things to look at, things to inspire you. Definitely helps. Then I have a lot of technical, like anatomy books and things to help me understand and learn anatomy. That could be a whole other video. Books on sculpture. Surround yourself with images, things you like, things like that. Definitely helps. And now copying people's work to kind of get a feel for how it's done is cool. I'm not going to put it online and be like, look at the stuff I came up with, you know. Yeah. As Mendes, thank you. Have a great 4th. My hard drive is full of. Yeah, it's exactly references. I have the right click and save reference, like sure most of us do. And keep yourself inspired. That's obviously a big portion of it. So, and the more you do it, the better you get at it. Okay, so that's kind of that. And I've talked about how to kind of, you know, get yourself out of the funk. So there's that. Who was the biggest? Is question number 2. Who was the biggest influence when you began airbrushing? So I always drew and painted. You know, since I was a kid, mostly drawing. My initial biggest influence was Captain Bob. he was like a kind of like a sea captain painter. Like this was before Bob Ross, really. That would draw every Saturday morning in crayons and animals and wildlife, things like that. So he was my initial. Kind of really got me into it. But my grandfather also drew and painted. My brother John drew. My sister could draw. So art was kind of in the family. But when it came to airbrushing, the first exposure I got to really airbrushing was the complete airbrush book, which had a cover of Olivia painted. This like pinup girl with like butterfly angel wings, all in purples and blues, and super striking, and that was a big influence. And looking at sci-fi fantasy art like Frazetta and things like that. I know they don't airbrush, but that type of art just really kind of geeked me out of it and geeked me into it. So then when I started airbrushing, one of the biggest influences, and this is going back, was Fraser. Craig was a big influence because I love the automotive style, and I got into it. And I got his book when it first came out, Cheap Tricks and Special Effects. Huge influence on what I did. And then other artists like Dennis Matheson, like Mickey Harris, like Terry Hill, and just I saw all that work in the magazines and books. And then there were fine artists like Uric, and just so many to list. But they influenced me very much in the beginning, and I've been fortunate enough in my career over the years to work with many of them, almost all of them. And I've talked to Uric before he passed, years before. I never got to work with him or meet him, but I've became good friends with Craig, and we've worked together and painted together at events and classes. That's always been a thing. So yeah, lots of different influences. Main artists that influenced my style more: Frazetta, Boris Vallejo, Luis Royo. Lorenzo Sperlonga was huge as well. More recent years, H.R. Giger, however you pronounce. So many. Brahm was another big one. So yeah, those are artists I look up to quite a bit. This other question is, when do you expect a freaking Guyver piece? I want to paint a Guyver piece someday. Guyver is it's a Japanese anime. Bio booster armor, really really cool. I am going to do it eventually. Yeah, so those are the main questions. So I hope some of that answers everything. And now with that being all the members posted, thank you here. I can open up the floor to non-paid members, but a lot of you guys already are. So if you got a question or a trick, or you want to know a thing of maintenance, shoot them out there, man. Let me know what you're thinking, and I will do my best to answer it, or we can put it to another feed. All right, so my red is primarily done right now. This is where I have enough of the red. I'm not going to do any highlighting in white right now, or erasing, or stitching, or anything like that, because I will go through and I'll use a scratch pen like this, and I'll start doing some stitches, and now it's going to look like actual stitches. But I'll do that a lot more later, because I want to shade. You can do it now, you can do it later. It's all what you want. I'm just using a scratch pen. You can use an X-Acto blade to just make little white stitches up here. Again, the difference between a couple hour job and a long of hours jobs. So you can price accordingly. But if someone's willing to pay for the extra time to do all the stitches, like I'm pretty sure we're going to do that in the 42-foot boat. You're going to be able to see them. That's the way to do it. So now the red's done, we're going to do the blue. This is always the order I work in. I always do the red first, and then I do the blue star field. Because it's easier to get the red on the big area and the star field smaller, so you can back mask off the red a little bit, and then just focus on the blue. It is kind of a pain to work on all the stars. If it's a big enough field, what you can do is instead of the stars being super pointed, round the points, and the vinyl pulls a lot easier. I got here. So let's see. Happy 4th. Good evening, sir. Gary, what's happening? Roger Dean. I'm not familiar with Roger Dean. Why is my feed is not moving? Oh, shoot. Huh. Hold on a second. My teleprompter just stopped prompting. Hold on. There we go. Oh, yeah. Yep. Know the album, didn't know who did it. I mean, so other artists, Drew Struzan was huge. You know, all the poster art, like Indiana Jones, the Goonies, things like that. Just so many influences. I could never just pick one. I mean, the one big one, like Giger, is, you know, I have the Future Kill print, and that's actual signed and numbered from Giger. So, a little bit of an influence. Is bourbon the secret? No, it's not. That could be detrimental to the art. So, sometimes it doesn't hurt. I was never like a, you know, get high and do a, you know, bunch of weed stuff and then create. I felt it was the opposite effect, honestly. I thought it stifles creativity. Some people it doesn't. Some people it just needs to maybe quiet the noise down. For other stuff, it'll let you focus on the creative. If you want to get a good sense of how to stay creative, look up, I'm not sure if it was a TED Talk or just another talk. If someone wants to find the link during it, it's great. John Cleese did a talk, whether it was a TED Talk or another talk, and he talked about creativity being the open and close, like there's a time to create and then there's a time to work, and they're two different mindsets. It's two different things. Creativity happens at a different space than painting or production, or, you know, the creativity right now. I am not being really creative right now. The creativity was like figuring the layout, getting the colors, understanding what it's going to be, figuring what it's going to be, and then as I'm painting it, I'm not really being creative anymore. I mean, I am when I'm figuring things out, but the creativity was the initial idea. So, yeah, find the John Cleese creativity, like the open and closed state of being creative. It helped me a lot, actually. The other book I'd recommend, and I've listened to it on ebook a dozen times, or more. I usually listen to at least every year. Is, do you ever use bourbon as a thinner in a pinch? No, no, I don't. So the book I recommend to everyone struggling with creativity and art is The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. The ebook, not the ebook, like the audiobook is outstanding. Not read by Pressfield. I forget who it's read by. Listening to that opens your eyes up to creativity a lot, especially the business side of it. So Brian and Mike Cohen, especially after what you asked tonight, I highly recommend getting the Audible book or something on The War of Art. Not The Art of War by Shin Tzu, The Art of the War, that was The War of Art, the Art of War, but The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. Get that book, read it, the quotes are amazing. It kind of opens your eyes to creativity a little bit more and production and that whole thing. Rob Gillespie has got a great question here. Let's see. Another question on certain color. I need to get a dark green white, like it's shadowed. Having trouble achieving this. I thought maybe reduce black or white, but it's not working. Nope, those will never, ever, 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 ever work. If you have a dark green, so is it like a white that's shadowed in green, or is it like a dark green that you need to highlight? Or is it like, is the green a mid-tone and then you need to go dark and light? Is that what it is? Is it a green, like a mid-tone green that you need a dark green and a white green? That book was written by Stephen Pressfield. If I remember, he was the one that did, I think, wrote the screenplay for the second King Kong, if I remember right. But yeah, highly recommend it. But the audiobook's great. So, because I've already done the red, all I have to do is mask off this little section here. So look, all I got to really do is this. So watch, I'm going to cut across here like this. I'm going to use the edge of my tape right there. When I do this, I'm letting the red peek through like just a hair. You know, I'm bending that around. And there we go. And all I got to do is cut that little bit out. So Rod, just let me know what you're thinking for the green. Like, is it a mid-green or... Let me know what you're trying to achieve, and I think I can give you an answer. There's going to be one key. You can do it with opaques, but transparents are going to be your best friend when it comes to this stuff. It's on Audible, less than $5. Yep. Great book. Like I said, I listen to it every year. I wonder if I can actually find it in my Audible library. Because there's two. There's one that's red. Let's see. And it's actually the face of a character that is in the shadows. I need to get the look like it's shadowed. Okay. So it's a white face, but you need to go green. Let's go. So what you got to do is you got to take that. If you're masked off, you got to take that white. And you got to start adding darker greens to it. You might be able to add once you go from the white and you start adding greens, you kind of get that mint green. That might be a mid-tone shadow, but you get mint to a dark. You can add maybe a drop or two of black to make it like a gray green. And then you go from there. And then what you want to do is you want to find that tone and make a transparent green. That's mostly a dark green to a black. But not using black, you're just making a dark green, and you can maybe put a few drops in of black to a green, make it transparent and start washing and tinting it over. The same way I did this dark red, because I added purple to this red, to make this color. I didn't add black. If I added black, this would be dark maroon. I added purple because my shadow, my midtone, is going to have like a cool tone. So you got to kind of think of kind of like this. So if you're looking at a color chart here, and you're looking at white, so you want to be in here. You want to go from this like gray green to a darker, and kind of glaze coat it, and then you can brighten it from there. Okay, you know, you want to stay in this family. You can maybe even go over to here, but you don't want to use black. If you want, feel free to message me a picture of it, and I can see if I can help you. I'm just trying to see if I can find that book. Oh, this is the one narrated by Stephen Pressfield. There's another one out there that I think was narrated by someone else who's really good. Either way, it's just, it's great. All right, so like you can add black to a color. Like say if you mix your shadow, if you make that green, and then you want to make it darker, you can tint it with a little bit black or even purple to the green. It'll start to richen it up and darken it up a little bit. And then go from there. Just don't use black itself or a weak black. But see, that was a nice dark, and I could go one darker with it, but I'm not going to bother. All right, Starfield here. Yeah, that'll be cool to send a pic over, just not on a Sunday. You can send it on a Sunday, just don't expect a reply. That's all. I don't mind people sending me stuff on Sundays. I just don't really pay attention to them. Like, one of the things I've been trying to get better at, family-wise and mentally-wise, is I try not to live on the internet too much. I know it seems like I'm on all the time, but I try to limit the amount I'm looking at it. Or I might be looking at it, but I kind of missed a mass in the upper left. Oh, thank you. Good here, good there, good there. There, good there. Thank you. I've been trying to get better, and, you know, I don't answer emails super quick. I mean, I answer emails for customers pretty well. But, like, Facebook messages and stuff like that, I look at them here and there. I don't really... Unless it's like a direct question, someone needs help with something, you know, I don't answer super quick anymore. I try not to be kind of a slave to it, you know. So, all right, so this color is the opaque. What's the name of it? I can't even see it here. Oh, daylight blue. Opaque daylight blue. Yeah, that's it. That's it. That's the ticket. And the cool thing about the opaque is that little red edge that's peeking through, it's going to cover that. Oops, 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 oops. I forgot to cut this right here. No, my chatting. That would have been bad. But it's opaque, so we're going to get rid of that. Save yourselves. Stay off the internet, rot your brain. No, I definitely stay on it. I just don't want to be as much of a slave to it. So if I don't get back here for a few days, or I don't respond right away to your message or whatever, just don't take it personal. I do get a lot of messages. Sometimes I just gotta shut off mentally and get back to people later. Now this is an opaque, so I gotta be a little bit, don't overly wash it. No, I used to do Facebook at the same time, but no one was really watching it. So now I pretty much just stream on YouTube for this. I am going to start doing my tabletop gaming and modeling stuff probably here and then on Twitch. I was thinking of shooting over to Instagram maybe here and there too, but I don't know. But while I'm there, let's talk about these. Put my socials up. These are my socials. So that's what I'm on. I haven't done really crap on Twitch, but I'm going to. But YouTube is where I'm consistent every week, you know, unless otherwise stated. Okay. I feel you do well on Twitch or stream on both at the same time. Yeah, I was, like I said, I was doing this and Facebook at the same time, and then Facebook was just a drag on everything, and it wasn't just enough. So I was thinking of doing adding Twitch to this and maybe doing it simultaneously. Maybe once I get my big switcher back up and running, once I get the new one, I'll do that. But thanks. Yeah, that's where I'm at, and I am going to do my tabletop gaming stuff, like my minifigures and Warhammer stuff there. So, yep. And I was thinking maybe doing a couple little Instagram things here and there too, just shorts and stuff like that. You know, living. Rob, what's happening? Michael Cohen, thank you, sir. Appreciate it. How's the sound been the whole time? Pretty consistent? Like, is the airbrush too loud? Because now that I know the lavalier works well, this is just a cheap, not cheap, but not a, it's a fairly inexpensive Samson lavalier. And now that I know it's on a better scale to use these, I'm gonna look at maybe getting a Rode, like a Rode mic or something like that. That's a better quality. Because I know if I get a really good one, I can like dial in certain frequencies, and I can probably dial out the airbrush noise a little bit more, and I can dial out the background. Crisp and clear, good. And you're not hearing the air conditioner humming as much, or probably the compressor for that matter. Okay. Alright, so that was my opaque blue. Go to the sound front. Awesome. Thanks, Todd. Now I am going to go to my... Which color is this? My blue violet, because the next two colors have a blue violet and red violet. Okay. Oh, that sucks. That's crazy. Alright, so I'm going to do this blue violet. I'm going to make this a little thinner. So I got my test here. It's a little grainy, so it's a little too thick. That's why it's nice to have a little test piece. Take my 4021. What's the beverage for tonight? Tonight is Whistle Pig Piggyback, which is a 6-year Whistle Pig rye, as opposed to the 10-year, which is the a little bit more expensive stuff. It's nice. I want to thin it a little bit more again. Yeah, man, that is awful. because this can be a really strong color. And if it's still too strong, what I'll do is I can thin it. No, it's good. I can make it a little bit more transparent by either adding some UVLS, actually, which is what I'm going to do because this is illustration. So I'm going to take some UVLS and just add that in. Whoop. Give that a mix. And I'm still using my new custom CS, which I love, this double cutaway. And I did find out you can order these double cutaway handles again, which comes with the handle and the weight in here that goes on the edge of the needle. So I'm actually going to do a custom conversion. I'm going to take my Takumi Eclipse, which I love, and I'm going to put a double cutaway handle on my Takumi Eclipse, because I've already changed out the color cup to this one piece. This is a solid one piece as opposed to the two-piece one. Nothing wrong with the two-piece one, but I like this one holds more. So that's a custom add-on, and then I ordered this from Coast, so I can put that on this. Just make a little kind of a cool hybrid. Whistle Pig is good, but it's hard to find up here. Oh no, we don't have any problem getting it around here. It is made in Vermont though. So, all right, so there we go. That's nice. So it's always nice to have something to spray off to the side. And I can test my lines. If I was going for fine lines, I would go even thinner. All right, so now same thing. And I'm going to pick out these shadows. Not overpower it too much. Just going to start getting in there. Any other questions tonight? Actually, yeah, Canada is actually hard for good bourbon. Yeah, I bet. I'm sure some of the political stuff, and I don't want to get into it, but I'm sure that has not helped with the distribution of bourbon. There we go. A little too light in here. Because what I'm going to do now is, after this, I'm going to pull the stars off, and we'll shade over that some more. But if you look at the photo reference here, this is really dark. When I do American flags, I make the blue a lot brighter. I can keep darkening it some more, but see, if you look at that, that's almost like a black navy blue. It's so dark. It's great for realism, but on a boat or a truck or a car, you want to read faster from a distance, so brighter, more pop colors would do better for you. Let's see, now I just darken a little bit more when it gets there. And so this is oh, yes, exactly. If you were going to use pearl, so if I was going to use pearl, I would, on something this small, I would probably just put a pearl top coat down, or I would put a pearl white base down, and I would use all candies. And I've done that on motorcycles, where instead of a solid white, I'll do a really heavy pearl white, and then I'll use all transparent candies on top of it, so the pearl comes through it. Or in this, I would get this blue, and then I would mix up a light blue pearl and go over the top before I do my final, is how I would do that. Like, you don't want to be trying to do like freehanding and stuff, and like this stuff with pearls too much. Pearls you can just kind of glaze over the top with like a minigun or a TH2 or something like that. Airbrushing with pearls is absolutely horrible. You don't want to be trying to do details. Before I unmask it, I'm going to go a little darker, and I'm going to take my purple, I'm going to add it to the blue. So this is my red violet. And if I want to go super dark, I could add a drop or two of black into this, but that's really only takes a couple drops. So now let's see. But yeah, that's how I would approach the pearl. I would either start with a pearl white base, transparent over the top of everything so the pearl goes through, or I would do my blue. I could even do that first pass of that blue and put, sorry, that first blast of blue with pearl on top, and then start shading with like a a candy or a transparent blue wash and let the pearl come through it. That's probably how I would handle it. Probably go a little darker. How do you go over silver leaf with candy 2.0? I did it. It was fine until I used UVLS clear. Then it went and... So when you put the clear on it, did you flood it? Or did you put it on really reduced? Because that can be an issue. When you're over silver leaf, if you're going to put clear on top of it, just understand that any paint, even automotive 2K clear, on top of silver or gold leaf, you're only getting about 30 to 50% the bond you normally would because the metal silver. Unless it's spun leaf. If it's spun, you'll get a little bit more because you have some tooth. So what you got to do if you're doing candy, I would definitely make sure your candy is more heavy on the UVLS so it bonds better to the silver. And then your coats of just clear should be your first like 1 or 2 coats should be super light. And then you just got to build it. You know, you got to take your time with it. Or that's when you may want to switch to like a 2K clear to lock it down. I've done it quite a bit and it's never been a problem, but you got to be really careful with the silver leaf because if it reactivates the candy underneath, it'll just move and model all over the place. I'm sorry, I'm not even looking at the camera. I don't have that. I was talking. This is the problem. This is the problem with the teleprompter. So instead of me, I'm usually looking at a screen that's happening and reading your comments, so I can see that I didn't switch. But when I'm looking at my camera through the teleprompter, I'm reading everything and not realizing that this was switched. I wasn't looking at you, like this. So it's gonna take some getting used to. Yeah, if you rush, dude, if you rush it, you're done. That is pretty much everyone's issue. Most people run into problems because of the rushing. Just is. See, now painting, and I'm not even on. Okay, there we go. All right. Let's unmask this and finish this puppy off, and then everyone go have a good 4th. I don't even know. I don't have my phone on me anymore. Oops. I am glad the lavalier mic is working good, though. Let's see here. Yeah, we still got a few people in the feed. All right. Now we can just pull everything off. Yep. Thanks, Russia. Gotta get a newscaster practice. Yeah, just getting used to it. Whoa! Pull too hard. So this next part is where a lot of beginners mess up, and I did too for years, is they start using black to shade, and that's just an instant death. There's a couple ways to do it. Like a lot of guys use like a transparent gray and start doing some tone, like a cool gray. That works. Steve Driscoll used to use like a maroon, like a really nice washed out maroon for his shading, which I thought looked great. I'm going for more kind of stylized pop here, so if it gets too close to the mic, Scott wakes my neighbors when it gets too close to the mic. Well, now I'm one distance from the mic the whole time, so it doesn't change. Unless it changes when I do this versus this. Come on, I have a soft and subtle voice. It's super quiet. I tell it to my wife all the time and she laughs. And I say, well, I whispered it. She's like, no, you didn't. You don't know how to whisper. You can't whisper. Yeah, I think she's right. Yeah, Payne's Gray would work really good. Could be what I would probably do with the Payne's Gray, especially on the Createx because it's really strong. And it is a little bit of a coverage color because it's got a kind of an opaque. I would probably cut it in half with 4004, like a transparent base. So it's more transparent. Is probably what I would do. So as part of the Q&A, like I said, it's open up to everyone else. Anyone got any other questions they would like answered? Because the cool thing is about this is I can kind of be on cruise control with paintings like this, and I can talk quite a bit. And I can kind of field some questions. You need to listen back to this feed and work out when you boom us out. So if it's going too high, let me know, because I can always just, I'll try to go back to it. I can just kind of peek out like this. Now maybe if I talk it won't go. Now I can talk a little louder, it doesn't go in the red. But when I was here, yeah, I was definitely getting up close to the red zone. Yeah, I could tone it back down. Boom, right arm went across your face. Huh, yeah, it might be. Oh, if I touch it here. Are you doing any online classes? Yeah, I gotta figure out a time to do it. I've been saying it for a while. I really gotta make it happen this summer. Because I've been wanting to do it more on the tech side first, and then do, more airbrushing. But I think some of the online classes on the tech would be great for what I learn how I concept things and how I lay them out. And now I think with the teleprompter I can play with that a little bit more, because I can actually put a script together for like kind of a walkthrough step by step. Oh, it could be my what is this? Yep. I remember that happened when I was doing... can't even find the clip. Yeah, I'm going to put that behind me. Yeah, it's dragging across the mic. That happened once I was doing a video, and every time I moved my head, it was dragging across. I'll have to take my chain off before, or just move the lapel mic somewhere else. How would an airbrush artist get noticed in this industry when there's so many? It's a tough one. You're not competing with it. Once you think you're competing with airbrush artists, you've kind of missed the boat. You're competing for exposure. That's definitely one thing. Again, I'll go back to Stephen Pressfield. That's why that's such a great book. It helped me a lot get out of that mentality. Paint, put your best art out there, let it speak for itself is a big part of it. Be original and be consistent. To stay relevant is to be consistent. Consistently put out content, consistently put out paintings, keep your eye out there. And this is in the business side of it too, for like how I got popular in the area, and a lot of people knew me for custom motorcycle work, especially up here in the Northeast, was cruise nights, events, shows, I was there. Even if in my head it was like, oh, I didn't get any money, I didn't get any work out of that show. You don't know that. You might not have pulled a job out of that show being there, but being there 3 or 4 times, people start noticing you're always there and you're around and you're solid. And I've gotten work off people like, oh, I got your card 4 years ago from the World of Wheels. Finally, and I keep seeing your stuff. Finally ready to pull the trigger on getting a bike done. If you didn't go to those shows year after year after year and weren't out there consistently, you would never have got that call. So that is a large part of it, consistency. And that goes with your practice and your work and just really keeping yourself out there and staying motivated. And don't get bogged down in all the other shit. Don't get bogged down in, oh, that guy painted similar to me and that guy he copied my style. No, he didn't. At any given moment, there's 50 artists with the same idea as you or me, and it's who got to the race, who got it out there first. Certain artwork and certain things is just in the ether. It's just out there in the world, and everyone's kind of seeing it and keying in, and artists are tuned to it. And this gets talked about in the War of Art. And the muse, as it's called, hits everyone or lots of people, and if you're tuned into it, you get it out there. So consistency is the big thing. If you are someone who consistently posts quality work, even mediocre work that's still good, it's still well passionately thought of and done, Skulls helps in a certain way, but it can also be limiting in certain ways. When it comes to internet influence and things like that, yeah, there's, oh, well, that person, is loud and does this and makes a lot of flashy stuff, so he gets the attention. Yeah. But are they consistent? If they're not consistent, it doesn't matter how flashy, how beautiful, how pretty, how this, how that. If they're not consistent, they don't do well anyway. So I would just say, put your work out there, let it speak for itself, and be consistent about it. Be a little humble about it. Probably helps too. I had to learn that kind of the hard way. Ego will kind of hurt you. Not that I don't have an ego, I do, but it's kind of how to keep it in check. But yeah, just keep yourself consistent, Amber, and that's kind of the big thing. And can't clear, so I'm limited. Let's go. You don't have to be able to clear. I don't clear half my stuff. I sub it out for a lot of my stuff. I used to do that with tattooing, always comparing with other artists, fast way. Yeah. Remember, they're colleagues, man. Other artists are colleagues. If I was worried about people stealing my artwork and my style and how I do things, I sure as heck wouldn't be doing this, and I wouldn't be posting how-tos online. I hope it makes the industry better and elevates the artwork and elevates the art form and gets more awareness towards it, and the more artists that work together, the more exposure it gets to quality craftsmanship and quality work and quality practices. It makes the industry as a whole better and the quality of the craft better. I think that's key. I'm not the old mentality where you keep it all a secret and you don't tell anyone how you do things. There's techniques I keep to myself to a point, or that I teach people who pay. But for the most part, nothing I'm doing here is proprietary to anyone. So just, be part of the community. It just helps. So, yeah, I think that's kind of the outlook. And I've gone back and forth between, mentality on it as well. Okay. All right. Super simple. I like We Are Family. And like any... So, We Are Family, everybody just wants to lift everyone up. Couple bad eggs. Exactly. Like any family, there's fights, there's strikes, there's a couple a-holes, there's a couple asshats, there's always some drama. But it's all part of it. So. Alright. I like to do skull stencils walkthroughs. Oh, cool, man. I'm going to be doing more of those. I'm going to be doing a bunch of shorts and things like that, too, on those. Alright. I'm going to do these with kind of like a purple tone. So I'm going to bring in the stencil a little bit here and there, but I'm going to do a lot of it by hand. This is pretty transparent, so what it's going to do, it's going to darken this red while it makes this like a purplish blue. So watch what I'm doing. See right here, it makes that fold start to go darker and start to cut across here. Like I said, this is kind of a purple tone. If you want it more blue, you can go more blue. If you don't want to get this red too dark, this is where the stencil comes in. Watch. I'm going to hit here and go dark. You know what? I think it's a little too purple. I'm going to cut back with that blue. I want to add a little bit more, make it a little bit more transparent. Okay, so here, there we go. Yeah, this is a little bit more blue. And then as I want to get darker, I'll probably add a drop or two of black to this. Soft touch is keep your paint transparent and move. And just remember in your mind, you can always add more paint. And loosen your wrist up. Because the problem with, if you use paint that's too strong, you can't build anywhere. So you got to just kind of tone it, and remember you can always add more paint. So like when I do that boat in a few months, I'm probably going to do like 3 or 4 of these same panels for the customer in various tones to let them get a feel for different options. Oh, shoot. Big wrinkles. Don't panic. If I had to, I can white that out. Yeah, it's easy to build and take away, exactly. Because now when I cut across here, that gets darker and the stars start to get a little bit of shade. Just keep it thin. Oh, I have a local sign supplier and a metal supplier near me. So that's where I get them. I order a 4x8 sheet and then have them cut them down to certain sizes. So super simple. Now watch. This is the only time you're going to see me use a little bit of black. I am going to add so sparingly. I'm going to put shadow right here. So watch. I got maybe a third of a cup. I'll open up my black here. And try to open up my black here. Yep. And I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3 drops. That's it. I'm not using black. I'm adding black. Okay, that's the difference. So watch. By adding black to my already darkened tone, See how it starts to change that tone? I think I need 2 more drops. This is transparent black, so if I was an opaque black, I'd probably already be too much. I will always take bids on a painting, Gary. Thank you, sir. So now look, now by adding black, see that tone change? Watch in here. Now the shadow gets deeper and darker. What I should do this, maybe for a video it'd be cool. Maybe I'll call it like don't use black. And I'll do the same flag or paint like this with these tones and the same flag shading with black. And let people see the obvious difference. And maybe some people like it the other way. I don't know. But see now, see what that did, how much better that looks. Because I added black to my shadows. Now it starts to get some more life to it. Starts to carve out some shading right here. That fold just went in. Watch this come together. Big folds here. Look at this fold. I'm going to get this one really crisp. Soften it out. Now that looks like it just twists and rolls. It was Robert Mayport. If you want to keep the, you would use transparent sealer. Yep, and get sheet metal for dishes. So watch, it's gonna hit here. Make this wrinkle really deep. See that nice fold? So see what adding black to my already dark color did? It helped me tone everything. Really, well, I'm gonna make this whole valley deeper. Because I'm gonna use this transparent and I'm gonna wash over it. And this can be really dark because it's off the page. Now what I'm going to do is watch this. Transparent base. Like a 50%, 60% cut. See the transparency? Now it's a nice glaze. Turns into a glaze coat. Now the white, don't use white straight. Again, there's a lot of blue going on in here. I can leave that remnants, I just wiped it out. Put a little white. You can also do erasing here. Transparent base. I forgot that was already transparent white, so I think I put too much in. There we go. So little. High spots in the middle. too much. I'll tone it out with some blue again. You could, yeah. It would be super white, so if I was going to erase, I would have already done it, and then I would tone back over with that glaze coat. That's kind of what I would have done. But like right here, I can hit that edge, and I can brighten that up. See that fold got a little brighter? Same thing here. A little brighter. A little brighter. Something like that. Really simple, basic design. They are fun to paint. These, you want to go to some local craft fairs and shows. Paint this on a bunch of panels in different shapes, or cutting boards, or wood blocks, or wood signs, or old pieces of... Paint a bunch of these in different ways. Maybe even make the stars a little brighter. Keep it simpler. Like this is a little... Here's a little too dark, but I still dig it. I would probably... What I'm going to do when I do the boat is we're going to go in and we're going to scratch all these stars out so they look like they're stitched. That's a whole other hours and hours, but that's going to brighten up the stars. And we'd actually go in and we're going to, you know, so we're basically going to take the razor blade. I'm going to go in and we're going to do stitches like this. Yeah, watch. So I can go in and go stitch, 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 stitch. And you start seeing those stitches in there. When we do the boat, we're going to be able to like shadow each stitch. Yeah, things like that. So you can do all sorts of stuff. But if you're into it, you can download one of the flag vectors I have on there and work with that. And with that, kiddies, we are gonna get... Do I have... Nope. Where is my... Oh yeah. Old trick, but new trick. Seven. I'm going to title it the fourth, because that's what it's for. Quick, simple, down and dirty. I hope you enjoyed the Q&A portion. It's just a simple painting. Thank you, Gary, for the bid. I much appreciate it. I'll get this cleared with your other panels and get them off to you. Are you going to stencil with vinyl or freehand with tape? Oh, on the boat? So, probably a mix. The boat's too big to plot the whole flag like this, so I'll use the plotter for all the stars. I'll use my plotted image, and I'm probably going to throw it in my big overhead projector, my big projector, and I'll project the design onto the boat, and then freehand tape it and cut it and stuff like that. It's probably how it's going to go. There's going to be a mix of every trick I can do. Yeah, so thank you everyone for the questions. I think we'll maybe do, a Q&A session maybe once a quarter, so every 3 months or so would be a cool thing to do. I'll announce it a little earlier ahead of time. We can get those questions in. Feel free, the members, to message me, and we can see if we can include them. So, you know, I'm doing this for you guys as much as myself. And, yeah, I'm going to call it a night, guys. And have an awesome, happy, healthy, safe 4th to everyone. And see you all next week, next Thursday. Airbrush Down Dirty Tricks. Have a good one. Peace. I'll fix this whole stuff as well. Bye.